If you grew up going to public school in the United States of America, you probably heard about the American dream before you reached the age of 10. I heard about it much earlier because I am a pro wrestling fan. And like all pro wrestling fans from the late 70s to the early 90s, I was watching a man named the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. In his interviews, Dusty talked about the American dream all the time and did it better than any politician ever could. He would talk about being a poor plumber's son from Austin, Texas, and becoming great until able to get a dream, hold on to it. He talked to all people, white, black, and Hispanic, and had everyone from little kids to old ladies wanting to chase that American dream. We are told from the time we were young that our dreams are important. At least everyone a millennial and younger in is. Apparently, Gen Xers and baby boomers didn't get that as much. But if you grew up after a certain time, you were told that if you worked hard, if you were a good citizen, if you stayed out of trouble, you had a shot at a good life. A shot at fulfilling whatever your childhood dream was, to be a doctor, a lawyer, a basketball player, a father, a mother. Whatever your dream is. Of course, as we get older, our dreams change and mature, and we learn that being an astronaut is probably no good if you are afraid of heights, and being a pro athlete probably shouldn't be your thing if you hate running. But we are still told that whatever our new dreams are, they are valid. But for many of us, there comes a time when you realize your dreams are a little bit different. And not because they are too big or too fantastical, not really. Often the dreams that are being deferred right now in America are simple ones. For those of us who did what we were told all of our lives and went to college and got degrees, some of us advanced degrees, we dream of being debt-free, hoping for student loan and forgiveness in an act that would change our country for decades to come. For those who are black, we are hoping simply to matter, to really matter. That seems to be beyond comprehension for most white Christians. Brown folk are hoping that they let the kids and the adults who look like us out of cages and let them get back to chasing a better life. Indigenous folk want the government to own up to its promises and respect their land for once, and for whatever land they have after 500 years of rape and oppression to be given back to them. And for our siblings in the LGBTQIA community, they just want people to treat them with sacred worth. Of course, I am generalizing here. All these groups of people want a lot more. But these are the simple dreams that we see deferred every single day. There are things that weigh on our minds and our hearts and our bank accounts and keep many of us from even thinking about professions we want, things we want, or children we want to have and give the best future to. Heck, most of us just want relief and insurance so we can have children. But when you're told these dreams are too big, we get scoffed at because these dreams, as we ask, do you mean to rule over us? Of course, that's what they said to another young dreamer once upon a time, a young man named Joseph. Now, Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob, the grandson of Abraham and Sarah. Now, because Joseph was the only son of Jacob's favorite wife, Rachel, and he was born to Jacob at an older age, he was greatly loved by his father, or at least that was the perception from his 10 older brothers, some of whom had proven themselves by this time to be whatever word you can think that's derogatory that you want to use here. The young folk might say they were trifling. They caused a lot of drama. Go read Genesis 35, or go maybe skip ahead to 38 if you don't believe me. But to show his love for his son, Jacob gave Joseph a robe of many colors, meaning that Joseph had what we might now call swag. You know, that person who's always dressed well, always has a smile on their face, always moving with a sense of purpose through life. That was Joseph. Because he was loved, he was bold. Because he was loved, he was bold. He shined like a star. And Joseph's brothers, they were now what they would call a bunch of haters. We all know those people, right? Those people who never let you shine. You could be excited about a new pair of shoes or a new job or having a good day, and they go to shut you down. They just can't stand someone who is doing good or rather better than what they think you should be doing. The other 10 probably wanted Joseph to be a gopher for their little gang, and when Joseph decided to go beyond that, they were ready to put him down. So one day, with Joseph full of his shine and maybe not seeing the truth yet about his older brothers, goes up to them and tells them about a dream that he's had. Genesis 37:6 tells us that he says, "Listen to this dream I had. When we were binding stalks of grain in the field, my stalk got up and stood upright, while your stalk scattered on the ground and bowed down to my stalk." I mean, come on. Who wouldn't get excited about that? I tell that ish too. Joseph would have other dreams like this and tell his brothers and fathers about them. Jacob even scolds him for it once, but he doesn't do anything else. At least the text doesn't tell us about anything that Jacob does. He doesn't move to protect his son in any way. He doesn't bring his older sons and have a brainstorming session about how they can best nurture these dreams that Joseph is having. He does nothing. And then one day, Jacob sends Joseph to report back on his brothers who are out tending to the flocks of sheep. He finds them in a place called Dothan, and then they see him coming, his brothers. Young men who have watched him grow up and know the pain that their father will go through because of this, their plot to kill their brother. They say, "Here comes the big dreamer. Come on now, let us kill him and throw him into the cisterns, and we'll say that a wild animal devoured him. Then we will see what will come of his dreams." Stop there. The discourse we find in this section is absolutely horrid. One of the most horrid passages of a book that is chock full of horrid passages. 10 brothers are discussing how best to rid their youngest from the world. The first option, the most vicious option, is outright murder with a planned cover up as part of the planned action. For those of you who think like me, think your thought, get it out of the way, let it pass. So Reuben, the oldest of Jacob's sons, the one who you might expect to be Joseph's keeper, comes up with a compromise. Don't spill his blood. Throw him into this desert cistern, but don't lay a hand on him. The text tells us that Reuben intends to save Joseph from them and take him back to his father. This is the admirable stance here. Reuben is basically saying, I know we all hate him, but let's not kill him. Let's just throw him down into a cistern and let him suffer for a while. This is his compromise. An example of why compromising usually is just as destructive as violent action itself. Reuben doesn't tell his brothers to back off for their violent thoughts. And we don't know which brother said this, but if I'm Reuben, I'm straight up punching him in the face for this. Nor do we see any of Reuben or any of the other brothers, for that matter, say to Jacob, hey, they all hate him. Don't send them out there or they're going to kill him. Reuben fails his younger brother. Now Joseph eventually reaches his brothers and they attack him. They make sure to take his swag off of him, haters, and then throw him into the cistern. When he lays there hurt and suffering, they sit down and they have lunch. The text then says that they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming away from Gilead with camels carrying sweet resin, medicinal resin, and fragrant resin all the way down from Egypt. So Judah, who is a real piece of work, says, what do we do if we gain if we kill our brother and hide his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites. Let's not harm him because he's our brother. He's family. Yeah, Judah, because when someone is your family, you make them a victim of human trafficking instead of murdering them. People have long overlooked and tried to disavow the violence of these books we find in the Christian Old Testament, like Genesis. We try to make it about wise sayings and pretty poems of Psalms and Proverbs, and kid-friendly stories such as Noah, young King David, and Jonah. As Americans, we like to do that. We like to sweep the violent, ugly parts of ourselves under the rug. We don't talk about how so much of this country's wealth was built on slavery and slave trade. In Texas, we don't talk about how the catalyst for the Alamo and the Texas War of Independence was the Texans' colonists' desire to keep slavery. which Mexico had banned. We don't talk about how our nation that spreads from sea to shining sea came at the expense of a genocide of indigenous people and an unjust war with Mexico. We sweep under the rugs the lynching of African and Mexican Americans which most often came during the church hours at the turn of the 20th century. We sweep under the rug the fact that so much of the great American dream was built on the backs of the people it oppressed. And today, so much of the church says nothing while that oppression continues. And it's not like we can hide from it anymore. We see it everywhere. It's on pictures. It's on video. I can go online in 5 seconds and see an 8-minute and 46-second video of George Floyd being murdered by Minneapolis police. You can see pictures of immigrant children in cages on the Texas-Mexico border. You can see protesters being beaten down in the streets by police and unidentified federal agents in Portland and Seattle. You can see the people whom the government and the police, backed by the white evangelical church, has said, "Come now, let us kill them and throw them in one of the cisterns and say that an animal has devoured them. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." And we see, what do we gain if we kill our brother and hide his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites. Let us not harm him because he's our brother, he's family. We see that now in how predominantly Black and Latino men are languishing in private prisons, and the immigrants seeking asylum and a new life now suffer in private detention centers. For most of us who are Black, brown, Indigenous, Asian, and queer, and differently abled, who are just trying to grow up and come into our own, those of us who are really listening to Tupac and Paramore and Tegan and Sarah and reading anime fanfic after we finish reading our Bibles, waiting to see if this church of this nation will really love us as much as they say they do, we wait. We wait in the cistern. We wait in our suffering, wondering if our siblings are going to pull us out or if they're going to continue to profit from us. We wait, wondering why no one is fighting for us. Where is our older brother? What did we do to deserve other than expressing our dreams? Expressing and following our dreams in the way that our teachers and our parents and dusty roads told us that we should. What did we do to get thrown in this cistern? The question you must be asking yourself now, what I hope you're asking right now, is what do I do? I hope you ask yourself that every week as you leave church. The first thing is to listen. Listen when we tell you about your white and your male and your straight privilege. Listen to when we tell you that Tupac and Nirvana can be just as holy as Amazing Grace or Come Thou Fount. Listen when we say, we can't breathe. Think about how others feel. Think about how your little Facebook post or your little thin blue line flag, or how loving someone saying that how loving someone the same gender is a lifestyle choice. Think about how for so many of us, our theology has nothing to do with the beyond, but our theology is surviving to the next day without being shot, without being arrested, without taking our own lives when the pressure and the hate and the self-loathing become too much. And most of all, let us dream. Don't say we are criminals when we dream about defunding police. Don't say we are ungrateful and untitled when we dream of having our student loan forgiven so we can buy houses and cars and have children. Let us dream we want to all people, regardless of their color or immigration status, of what gender they love and how their minds and their bodies are differently able, to be all seen as beings of sacred worth who deserve to be married at a church and preach at a church and be members of churches. Let us dream. And to all you dreamers out there, do not stop. Do not give in. Get a dream. Hold on to it. And may the Holy Spirit bless your dreams to the end of the earth. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Amen.